Hi, I'm Mutiara.
Hello everyone, I'm Fatinie.
Hi, my name is Fakhira.
Hi, I'm Batrisyia.
Hi, my name is Prabagar, and welcome to Group 2's Infographic. Today, we're here to present to you about a very serious topic, one that threatens the safety of not only you, but your loved ones, and that is child prostitution and trafficking.
But what is child prostitution and trafficking, and why is it such a big issue? Well, to get into that, first we need to dive into the fundamentals of it all. Child prostitution is the action or practice of illegally procuring and relocating children for the purpose of sexual exploitation. It is a highly immoral act of crime that takes advantage of children who are very vulnerable. This topic is taboo to be talked about in our society, and there are thousands of voices trying to speak up about this issue but often getting silenced or ignored. Day by day, more and more children becomes victims of child trafficking. And it is up to us not to only gain but spread awareness of this drastic issue.
One such example of a story that has not gained nearly enough attention is the story of Carla Gentico. This sweet and strong survivor of child prostitution was only 12 years old when she was targeted by a sex trafficking ring. A member of the sex trafficking ring coerced her into having a romantic relationship so she would run away from her abusive household, only to forcefully put her into prostitution. She was forced to serve up to 30 men a day for 7 days a week for nearly 4 years of her whole life. It was estimated that she was raped 43,200 times in those past 4 years. These are the extent victims of child prostitution have to go through just to live another day in their lives. Thankfully, Carla managed to get out of the terrible situation and seek help she needed, and is now a staunch activist against child prostitution. However, many stories like Carla get unnoticed, and it is now up to us, the public, to take a stance against this dire situation.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why are children targeted more so than adults? Why are children targeted at all even? This is because children are more vulnerable and less able to defend themselves. Also, certain cultures justify sexual relations with underage children, such as child marriage, which runs rampant throughout Asia. You might also be thinking, why are these operations even in place and who profits for them? Well, firstly, the pimps and organized crime that basically run these operations profit the most from these. Child trafficking and prostitution. Also, the intermediaries who bring in these children also make quite a lot of money off of them. And when they exploit them, they also might get a percentage out of that, which is a shame because these people genuinely do not care that children are being exploited. Now, let's get into some heart-wrenching statistics for a while. UNICEF states that as of right now, 1 to 2 million children worldwide are being sexually exploited by child prostitution rings. And also, the entry age for child prostitution now is only 12 years old. Just let that sink in for you. To properly understand how dreadful the lives of those children in child prostitution are, rapeis.org released some statistics regarding people in child prostitution. 62% of them are raped, 73% of them are victims of sexual assault, 72% of them are homeless, and lastly, 76% of them have attempted suicide and or are suicidal. These are the conditions that they live in. And lastly, girls and women in child prostitution have a mortality rate of 40 times the national average. These are the lives of these young girls and women in child prostitution. These dreadful, miserable conditions they have to go through just to live another day on this earth. It is utterly cruel.
With the statistics out of the way, how exactly does child prostitution affect the victims involved and us as a society? Firstly, victims of child sex trafficking rings experience psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. This leads to physical and mental problems developing, as well as social tendencies. Moreover, these rough and highly sexual lifestyles at such an early age exposes these children to nihilistic tendencies, stress, and discrimination at a very young age. Most also go through physical torture by their clients or pimps and go so far as to experience teenage pregnancy when they are still children. All this and more causes them to have difficulty growing up. Child prostitution doesn't just affect only those who are involved, however. It's an overarching problem that impacts society as a whole, and that includes you and me. Child prostitution gravely undermines safety and security of all nations, and that's because the threat of a sex trafficker targeting children is unfortunately very, very real and quickly works to terrorize safety of the citizens of nations. Additionally, child prostitution increases the spread of STDs such as HIV and AIDS. It also terminates academic careers and worsens the reputation of states that are known for child trafficking. Lastly, in terms of social norms, child prostitution continues and furthers the unequal power relations that reinforce women's secondary status in our current patriarchal society.
And that brings us to our last point, child prostitution and its effects on gender equality. There are plethora of ways on how child prostitution affects gender equality, such as furthering the portrayal of women being inferior in society, as well as the cultural belief that women can be bought and sold. This means back in the day, people actually saw women and girls as an item in which they can use whenever and however they want. And guess what? It still happens now. Some still look at them as something that can be tainted with their selfish desire. Additionally, it furthers the marginalization of women in our society. Child trafficking and prostitution problems mainly target the young girls who are seen as something insignificant and are exploited sexually just to fill the desire of those gross buyers. Besides that, this troubling issue happens because of our patriarchal environment, which belittles employment rates for women, causing them to be unemployed and forcing them to sell their body just to live. Now, onto the last evidence is these girls are being trafficked at a much earlier age as compared to boys. Now, this is not to say that it is unfair for the girls because boys should be trafficked at a young age too. No, not at all. This is just one of the evidence which clearly shows how women and girls are seen as sex objects, an item to the buyers. To sum it up, women and girls have been marginalized socially, economically, and politically. Therefore, human trafficking and prostitution are inherently a result of gender inequality that was built by our patriarchal system. Now, we really hope that this infographic helps to wake up the society on how serious this issue is and how we should hold hands and beat it together for the sake of the victims, for the sake of the new generation. Thank you.